Good morning, it's Dave from Out There Adventures. Beautiful day. It's just a couple of days shy of the start of spring. We saw some pheasants, a couple of male pheasants having a bit of a barney yesterday. There's some woodpeckers having a bit of conflict yesterday also. There's lots of increase in the bird song. We heard a chiff chaff yesterday. So it's all happening, all the signs of spring. The activity we're going to have a look at today is something you can do pretty much year round, although this is a great time of year to do. I'm just watching a little long-tailed tit just having a mooch about on a tree there. I'm wondering what he's up to. Anyway, never mind. The activity we're going to do today is to make an elder whistle. This is a piece of elder. You can see the pith inside. It's soft, and that allows us to hollow this out. The word elder comes from elder, which is I think it's an old Saxon word, I might have that wrong, I'll check, which means fire, and the hollowed out tubes of the elder could be used to attach to the end of a set of bellows to then pump air into the base of the fire. So maybe the fire tree. You'll identify it really easily by these what look like little spots, these little lenticels on the tree, on the outer bark. That's a good way to identify it even when it's not in leaf. And we're going to use it to make a whistle, and we're going to use it because the potential to have a hollow tube here is the quality that we're looking for. Okay, so you'll need to snip pieces. Usually I go for a piece that's about as long as the palm of your hand. That's going to be the whistle, but then I get it a nice length like this because it's easier to work with, especially when you're using knives. So cut a piece like that. You're looking for a piece with reasonably thick pith in the center there, because you're going to force that out with a tent peg. Okay, so elder whistle, here we go. Alright, so the next step then, we're going to take the pith out of the centre of here. Now you can, if you've got a straight enough piece, maybe about that long, you could go all the way through with the tent peg. You could go all the way through there, but then you're going to need, remember, to stop at the other end. If you just put the tent peg in some of the way, so I've gone that far in, then the end is stopped by the remainder of the pith, so you don't have that problem. But you do have to ensure that you get all of the pith from the inside and compress the other end down solid, so there's absolutely no little flaky bits or anything like that inside, because as I said before, if the inside of the chamber is not as clean as a whistle, then you aren't going to get the sound that you're looking for. Okay, so just spend some time compacting that down. The depth that I've gone to, I'm keeping my fingers in this position so I'm not constantly just pushing further ahead, and that should be kind of stamping it down at the other end, making it nice and smooth. And then I'm angling the peg slightly so that it's scraping all of the edges. So you can see here, it's not going in flat, it's going in slightly at an angle, so it's scraping all of those edges, making them as clean as I can get them. And then hopefully we'll get the sound that we're looking for. Okay, so just spend a little bit of time on that, making sure that you've got it as clean as you can get it, and it will make a difference later on. Okay, I'm happy that that's as clean as I can get it. Next step, about the thickness of my blade, it's about the thickness of my blade down the stick, I'm going to do a little stop cut. So rock backwards and forwards there just to get the stop cut in place. Okay, so I've got a nice little stop cut there, and then all I'm going to do using that thumb push grip. So if you're working with children doing this, they're getting a lot of practice at skills for general knife handling or for the wild passport, if that's something that they're doing. If you're not aware of wild passport, I'll leave a link below so you can have a look at that. And what I'm looking to do is just shave this down until I've got this kind of capital D shape, slightly extended, and I've also gone through far enough that I'm into the chamber. Okay, so you can see there, just turn that around for you. It's we've got the chamber visible just there. We've got this kind of capital D shape, okay? And inside there is our hollow chamber that's going to make the noise that we need. Now the next thing for me to do is to grab a stick. Now I usually choose a dead stick, because if you put a green stick in there, as it dries and shrinks, you'll lose the sound. So I tend to go for a dead stick, but you don't have to, you know, if you're just doing like a practice, for example. So the next thing that I need to do then is I'm going to use this to make my little stopper, which will have an air channel. It's going to go in far enough so it's right to this edge here, but it's not going to extend into the chamber like you can see there. It's not going to extend beyond that hole, so it's got to be flush with the end. It needs to be nice and tight, okay? So once you've got that in position, I usually saw it off a little bit further down the stick so I can still pull it out and adjust it as I need, okay? So find a stick, the right diameter, pop it in there, cut off enough so that you can pull it out, because you are going to need to shape it a little bit, and then I'll take you on to the next step. Okay, so that's a snug, tight fit in there. Obviously at the moment I can't get any air through, so the next bit to do is to create a little channel along the top. I'm going to do that just by flattening off the top edge of the stick. Again, we're creating another one of those little D sort of shapes, and then I'm going to pop that in so that it's flush with the beginning of the channel, and I've got a little bit of a gap now. You can see the gap there is a little bit too small, so I'll adjust that, and that's why we leave an end on it so it's easy to get out. Best way to do it is just to peel it from way further back than you actually need, so that you get the shape that you're after. Let's try that again. Pop it in. I might get away with that, so I'll just saw that end off, and in this case I'm just sawing it off enough so that I can still grab, but actually I can get that in my mouth and give it a little bit of a test. Okay, so just a recap then. I'm going to cut this off in a second, obviously. And just to recap, all I've done is harvest the piece of elder, use the 10 peg, thin screwdriver will do it as well, to make the chamber, make it as clean as I can, using a stop cut and a thumb push grip to open up the little hole there to allow the air to push through and make the sound coming out of the chamber. And then I've positioned this little piece of wood in with the gap that you can see there. You can vary the size of the gap and see how that goes and see how it affects the whistle, and eventually you get a whistle like that. Now at this point I can cut it off here if I want a shorter whistle. If I cut it off and expose the end of the hole, then obviously the air's just going to go straight through, but I can easily put a stopper in the other end, and I'll just saw this end off here. Some people like to peel the bark, and you can certainly peel the bark if you want to. Mine's starting to come off anyway, and that's the job done. Okay, so that's how to make a little whistle using elder. There's lots of other ways you can do it. A little bit later in the spring, maybe another week or so, I'll be able to do a slightly different technique with maple, or with what I normally use, sycamore. So I'll maybe put that video on in a couple of weeks or so, because up north we're not quite at the stage where there's enough sap pumping through the sycamore for me to be able to do that, and I'll explain that later. Okay, so there you go. I'll just finish it off, and of course I could tidy it up, and I could, if I wanted to, I could angle the base a little bit like that just to make it look more whistle-like. Some people quite like to do that, so it's got a bit more of a whistle-like shape. Some of the kids have been making them recently, and there's one that's been stripped of the bark and really looks like a traditional whistle, so that's another thing you can try. And nice little whistle. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if that's what you do, and we'll see you on another one soon. Bye bye.